Hello, this is Internal Sadist, and tonight I'm gonna talk about Hammerhand's recent video. I actually watched it. I actually liked it a lot, and it made me think, and it made me laugh too, because it took me back to when I actually said I'm red pill, not MGTOW, and all the topics that he touched on and stuff like that, and stuff along the lines of that, and people are a little upset with that video when I said that because apparently they don't understand the concept of respect and honor. I have a level of respect and honor not to refer to myself as MGTOW because I believe that that's something that that's a philosophy that you literally have to take seriously and go through with and actually be a part of. There's no pussyfooting around it, and there's no half-assing it when it comes to me. It's either I am or you're not. I am or I'm not. Basically, I don't believe in like this buffet style carte blanche that a lot of people have for the most part when it comes down to it. So I do support MGTOW, but I'm not MGTOW. And that's something that I've noticed over the many days and years doing these videos. Like people always want to, kind of like what I talked about, people want to throw you in a nice little neat box because they need you to fit their narrative for the most part. The problem is, not everybody's going to fit a narrative that you want them to fit for the most part. Like I said in the beginning, I support MGTOW, but I never was MGTOW for the most part because, like I said, I have too much respect for the philosophy to just call myself something with so much carte blanche for the most part. Do I believe that they're a necessity to society? Yeah, I believe that they're a necessity to society. They're a very good necessity to society. Do I believe that red pills are a very good necessity to society? Yeah, it is wholeheartedly. The same goes for it more. The same goes for SYSBM. They're a necessity for society, along with despite the fact that they've been kind of sort of getting their butts kicked. MRAs are also a necessity for society, along with along with other people for the most part. So when it comes down to it, my personal beliefs on the whole entire thing is either you are or you're not for the most part. And that's typically how I operate. Either you are or you're not. So when I hear a video like Hammerhand's video that he just put out recently, I actually really appreciate those videos when they actually come out because they actually have a shit ton of weight to them and a shit ton of thought and a shit ton of like thought a shit ton of he put himself on the line when he did that video basically because like at the same time you got a lot of people that says well I'm this I'm that when in fact they're not. So like there's a shit ton of thought and a shit ton of experience that goes into making that type of video for the most part. And I don't take videos like that lightly when one of the elders of MGTOW basically make a video on the lines like that because obviously there was some serious thought that went into it before he actually put it out there like that. So I actually tip my hat to him. Actually, like the video, made a comment under it too because that was some real shit. That was some real shit. And I actually got some wine in my hand, so I'm actually raising it right now, but you can't see it. But yeah, it's videos like that that make me think that there is hope. There's videos like that that make me think that there's hope for men in this world for the most part. And there's a level of respect and dignity and morals when it comes to men in this world. It is what it is. It's also why I make content. It's also why a lot of other people make content too. They do it not because they don't do it for the glory. They do it because it needs to be done for the most part. That's typically how that works. And to be honest, I really do appreciate videos like that. I really do. And they're videos like that don't come out too often. However, I will say this: this video is basically this podcast is basically going to be about a lot of the stuff that I've been looking at and watching unfold over the many days, weeks, years, months for the most part. So this is going to be a nice little packed video podcast for the most part. One of the many things that I've been noticing, or I have noticed, is people's ability to always be angry with women or be angry about the whole entire thing. Look, I look at it like this. It's my views on the whole entire thing about women is it's not their fault. You can't blame something for doing something that they're born to do for the most part. They'll be like I said a long time ago in a live stream, blaming a woman for being a woman would be like blaming a lion because your dumbass jumped over the gate and got eaten. It's just facts. Like you can't blame somebody for their nature. I mean, you could be upset with it, but you can't blame them for their baseline nature for the most part. And that's typically always been my thoughts and views when it comes to women. You can't blame them for being them. You can't expect them to you can't expect them to have morals when they grew up in a household without morals. You can't expect them to have anything on along you can't really expect them to have anything along the lines of that when they grew up in a household without it for the most part. It's kind of like how we get mad at like Simpson Cups and White Knight and Soy Boys for the most part. The sad part about that is you also got to take into consideration too that's indoctrination. It'd be no different than it'd be no different than teaching somebody to hate somebody because the sad part about that is baseline we don't grow up racist. You have to be taught to be racist. It's a construct that you have to be taught for the most part. That's the best way I can put that put that into an analogy for you. Like these are things that cucks, white knights, soy boys, and betas are taught for the most part. It's what they refer to it in the English Manosphere as Disney indoctrination or Disney fairy tale, whatever the hell they call it these days. It's typically what it is. You can't be upset. You can have patience enough to take the time to unteach people these indoctrinations. But what you can't do is be mad at them for having those indoctrinations because they were taught these indoctrinations from somebody, obviously. So you have to unteach them. It'd be no different than if it'd be no different than it's basically a really really big blue eyes brown eyes uh, study that they did, or you're the prisoner, I'm the prison guard study that they did. When you actually tell somebody something enough, they tend to believe it and they buy into it, and it's going to be hard to unteach them how to actually not believe that or think that way for the most part. And a lot of people get angry with these people when in fact a lot of y'all grew up in the same gynocracy in the same world as the rest of these people. And like a lot of y'all say in y'all videos, you were still when you weren't exactly perfect yourselves, and you didn't know that you were being indoctrinated at the time until you actually got red pilled for the most part. The sad part about that is the same thing that goes for all these other people. They're indoctrinated and they just haven't been red pilled hard enough for them to actually have a different view on the world and for everybody, and for them to accept the fact that this is all a lie that they've been told, that they've been sold and told for the most part. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has that ability. Not everybody has that moment. Not everybody has that chance. Not everybody has the opportunity to be red pilled. And sadly enough, a lot of people have to be taught how to be red pilled for the most part. And instead of like berating them, yelling at them, and calling them out of their name, you should be teaching them and like giving them half doses of red pills or small doses of red pills, like dishing them out like how pretty much a doctor would dish out the pharmaceuticals from pharmaceutical reps. Basically, you literally have to dish them out in small increments. That way, they get it, and it slowly builds up because that's something that you just can't go, bam, shove this down your throat. It's something that you literally got to give to them in increments so they can accept it. That way, when they actually start seeing shit, they know what they've been told and they know what they've been taught basically, and all the little small increments start adding up in their head, and then they'll go into actually starting to accept it, understand it. And the sad part about that is you can actually do that without them actually getting the devastating red pill. You can actually avoid the whole entire red pill rage. Some people you won't be able to because not a lot of people are strong enough to actually do it. But if you give somebody something in small increments, it's basically like if you were, you know, readying somebody for something over a small amount of time. It's kind of like the best way to describe it, even though it's fiction, is the Karate Kid movie where they did the wax on, wax off technique, basically wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off, stuff like that. He was basically teaching them something without the other guy actually knowing that the young guy was actually without him actually knowing that without the young guy knowing that he's actually being taught something. What's up, Baron Yam? And I seen your video. I liked your video too. That was a good video, also. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things where you literally have to teach them in increments. That way, they don't know that you're teaching them this thing, and it's very subtle, and it flies under the radar. So when they absorb it, they're absorbing it in small increments, and they're taking it in without them even noticing that you're taking it in from you, taking in knowledge from you for the most part. Now, it's one thing if it's that thing. It's another thing if you're a child and you want to teach them that stuff. You basically got to teach them at a young age. It'd be no different than religion for the most part at this point, because you also have to take consideration. The later you teach them, the worse off you are because they're already indoctrinated with all the bullshit and the Disney and the schooling and the whole 9 yards and the programming from TV and internet and all that shit. So you really got to catch them when they're young. That's my whole entire belief on teaching children red pill for the most part. You got to catch them while they're young, because at the end of the day, by the time they get to a certain age, they've already been indoctrinated with all the bullshit. They've already been injected with all the HMOs and GMOs and all the extra bullshit that they don't need to have in them for the most part. So you got to keep them grounded, because the sad part about that, what's up, Shinobi One and Baron Yam? Because the sad part about that is, and you're welcome, Baron Yam. And the sad part about that is, you literally have to catch them while they're young. That goes for both men and women for the most part, because you also have to take seriously too. You're raising the next generation. This is going to be the generation that's going to grow up and supersede you for the most part. Without this next generation, there will be no philosophy if everybody's gone or deplatformed and you know and not being taught this for the most part, or we'll be like that underground. We'll end up having to turn into like an underground group or a secret book or something like that with secret handshakes, like we're freaking skull and crossbones, or shit like that for the most part, because there's going to have to be somebody around to teach this shit. So if you teach your children, that's the next generation of people that that's going to be able to pass on the philosophy for the most part. Why do you think religion is so successful? Religions are so successful because they're taught at a very young age. And that's my whole entire thoughts on that. I may not agree with it, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Religion's still here. Thousands of years later, it's still here. Philosophies are still here thousands of years later because they're taught to somebody. Somebody's got to learn it. It's just like maroon culture. It's still here because it's being taught. It's being passed down from generation to generation. It is what it is. It's kind of like it'd be no different than somebody that was raised in a third world country and then came to a first world country and then had children, and then their children know nothing about the old world and they grow up basically Americanized, we'll say. That culture, the way of life and philosophy just died if you don't teach them. It's just facts. You have to teach them. You have to teach them. Because at the end of the day, we got a lot of people running around here that know nothing about themselves culturally, personally, and and what's the word I'm looking for? Ethnically. You have nothing to be proud of because there's nothing to be proud of because you lose your you lose who you are in a society due to like all the other bullshit that goes on. It's almost like you don't have an identity anymore when you lose your who you are culturally and ethnically. You lose who you are. This is the reason why a lot of people run around with like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to figure out who the fuck they are, why the fuck they are, and why it is they are. It's sad, but it's true. And that's typically the nature of the beast when you hear people teaching and preaching and you know trying to indoctrinate your children in this day and age. It's sad, but it's true. But it's wrong for you to do it, but it's right for them to do it. Like think about that. That's your child. Why do they have the right in the carte blanche to actually indoctrinate your children, but you can't tell your children shit? You can't discipline your children. Like let that shit sink in. It's your child. Why is it wrong for me to teach my child something that's right, that's cultural, that's ethnic, that makes them and gives them their own identity and personality? Why does my child have to be a mindless drone? Why does my child have to be a mindless drone? Think about that, people. It's perfectly fine for this feminist and intersectional, wherever the hell, and all this other shit to be taught to your children, but you can't teach your child to be masculine. You can't teach your child their own cultural benefits or their own ethnic benefits or anything like that because it's wrong. But they can read stories to your children at a library, or they can have drag strip shows at in a freaking auditorium at your children's school, or they can do stuff with so carte blanche. But it's wrong for you to teach your children to be your children or teach your children about themselves and how to be individuals. It's wrong to do that because they're not allowed to be individuals. They have to be a part of the collective in this day and age, especially if you live in a first world country where they preach like acceptance. The sad part about acceptance is you can't force acceptance on somebody. That's no longer acceptance. You're forcing everybody to actually capitulate, or you're forcing everybody to actually do what you want them to do for the most part. You're not giving them the option to do what they want to do. You're forcing them to do what they want to do. And that's sad. That's the society we live in. And it shouldn't even be like that. It shouldn't even be like that. But it is. And this is where a lot of parents fall short on their children because they're so busy worried about what the government thinks or what other people think of them when they're trying to teach their children to be individuals. Apparently, it's wrong. So now parents got to be self-conscious about what they teach their children anymore these days. It's sad. You shouldn't have to be self-conscious about what you teach your children. You're the fucking parent. And if nobody likes it, that's just too fucking bad. It's facts. It's just facts. Because at the same time, If one of these motherfuckers that like to teach your children this stuff, if you was to say something about what they teach your children, they would throw a fit about it. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? They would throw a fit about you talking about what you're teaching your children, but you can't be upset by what you're teaching your children. If they're upset with you teaching your children a certain thing or how to be individuals, you can't be upset with that because why? Why? It's the sad reality that we live in today. And it makes me happy every day when I see my children grow up and they don't capitulate to stupidity or go full metal retarded with this ideologies that they're being taught all the time. I actually enjoy that my children actually can be their own individuals. Hopefully they grow up and they continue to do that. Because quite frankly, I'm not out of the woods yet because I still got there's still college and there's still schooling and there's still all that other great stuff that can actually fuck them up. So I do my best as a father, as a parent, to actually make sure that they don't do stupid shit or make stupid decisions that'll fuck up their lives or fuck up their chances of a better life or a happier life for the most part. Because at the end of the day, I don't want my children to be stressed out when they're older. I want them to be able to work out all the kinks when they're younger. That way, when they actually go out into the world, it'd be an easy challenge for them. It wouldn't even be a challenge for them. It'd be easy. It'd be an easy task for them to actually do. I don't want my children to suffer now and then suffer later. That's just pointless. Why? I want my children to grow up strong and independent. So when they face problems, they're able to tackle them, deal with them, address them, and get past them. I don't give a damn what this other person's doing with your children. That's your fucking children. Like I said in another video or podcast or a live stream, I don't give a damn about your children. They're not my children. I only care about my children and how they're progressing in life and how they're growing up to be young adults. I only care about them when it comes down to it. Because like I tell my children when they like I tell my children because my daughter Talia said to me one time, well, such and such does it. Well, I'm not such and such's parents. I'm your parent, and I'm going to beat your ass for saying that because you know how this works. It's that simple. Like, no, this is not how that works. It's basically how I view things and why I call myself, refer to myself as a free range tiger parent because I want my children to do best. I want my children to do their best and be the best at what they do. However, I do give them the space to grow as their own human beings so they can actually find their creative niche so they can actually grow as a human being for the most part. At the same time, if they start falling behind or start faltering, I will push them to catch up to where they need to be for the most part. And that's typically my thoughts on that for the most part. Another problem that I wanted to address, I've already got indoctrination and the teachings and the bullshit that movies and the world teaches your children that they don't need to learn for the most part because it's totally pointless. Because I've always took the approach from Bruce Lee, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless. Quite frankly, all this indoctrination is useless to my children. My children's culture is important to them. That gives them identity. That gives them their own thing so they can stand on their own 2 feet to actually better themselves. Because at the end of the day, the cultures I come from, it might be a collective, but it's all about individuality for the most part. You're individually a part of a collective for the most part is the best way I can put it to you. So they don't want you just being a carbon copy or a bunch of Slim Shadys running around basically of your father and your mother's for the most part. They want you to be your own individual, be able to think on your own toes and do what you need to do as a human being to be a successful, well read, well thought human being for the most part. That's typically how the cultures I come from work. And it's just stuff like that that just blows my mind that we let happen. And I've already addressed the whole entire indoctrination thing, so I guess I'm moving right along to the MGTOW and women thing that Hammerham was talking about. Look, I don't care who you are as a woman. I really don't give a damn who you are as a woman for the most part. I don't care if your husband is freaking. I don't care if your husband is such and such. You're not MGTOW. I don't care if your boyfriend is whoever the hell in MGTOW. You're not MGTOW. You're not MGTOW in the least bit. And this is coming from a person that's not MGTOW. Because at the end of the day, like I said, I respect the philosophy enough not to disrespect the philosophy and refer to myself as that. This is why I never call myself MGTOW, because I do a lot of stuff that's not MGTOW in my life. I have a lot of shit going on in my life that's not MGTOW. This is why I don't refer to myself as MGTOW for that reason, because I don't want to be disrespectful. But you got all these people out here calling themselves Mrs. and Mr. MGTOW. You can't be a MGTOW if you're a woman. I don't give a damn who you are. That goes for anybody. I'm gonna need you to respect the philosophy and get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit. Because, like Penn said, the M stands for man, not woman. I don't know where the fuck y'all get this shit from, but I'm gonna need y'all to go start your own shit over there in the corner, or go roll over and die some damn where, because that's some bullshit. That goes for anybody across the board. Let it be troll or let it be some dumb starry-eyed motherfucker trying to start a channel talk about Mr. and Mrs. MGTOW. What the fuck you think this is, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, motherfucker? You don't walk into the wrong club, and you're going to be sorely mistaken and sorely hurt by that shit. So at the end of the day, there's no such thing as Mrs. MGTOW. It's men, not women. That's the problem. Then people get mad at me when I say I'm not MGTOW, and this is why I don't call myself MGTOW, because of this, this, and this in my life. People get mad at me for saying that. However, you got these dumb motherfuckers running around here talking about I'm the queen of MGTOW and I'm Mrs. MGTOW and I'm MGTOW ma'am or something like that. You know, you just got people over just disrespecting shit. It's not for you. Go get your own shit. It's kind of like a lot of people it's kind of like what a lot of people say about celibate scorpion girl. I mean, she might use part of the acronym, but at the end of the day, at least she ran off on her own thing. At least she's doing her own thing. I can at least tip my hat to that one. But the rest of these motherfuckers running around talking about Mrs. and Queen and I don't know what the fuck that shit is. I don't know what the fuck that shit is. I don't recognize that shit. And I'm not even MGTOW and I don't recognize that shit. And for all those people that run around that use an acronym in vain, in the famous words of Little Scrappy, nigga, you will never, ever, 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 ever be on my level, nigga. You would never be on my level. It's just that simple. And it's just shit like this that just blows my mind when I hear stupid people say stupid shit like that and just straight up disrespect shit for no fucking reason whatsoever when they could go off and do their own shit. Why can't you go off and do your own shit? Oh, that's right. Because most of the great shit that came up was pretty much brought into existence by man. So you got to go copy it, paste it, and remake it again for the most part. I get that. That's why. And it's just shit like this that just blows my mind. Like I said, I may not 100% rad with the whole entire her taking an acronym, but at least she's doing her own thing and she's not calling herself Mrs. MGTOW or, you know, wherever the fuck all these other stupid people are calling themselves. She's actually doing her own thing. I respect that. She might have part of an acronym, but she's not calling herself MGTOW. She's calling herself, I think, I forget what it stands for, celibate scorpion going her own way, or celibate and something going her own way. I don't know, but you know what I mean. But it's just the fact that she's actually going her own way, and I respect that. She's not trying to abuse this top out. I'm a part of MGTOW. Look at me, look at me, look at me. She's not doing that. I respect that. I'm not 100% okay with it, but I respect that. But at the end of the day, it's like we run into these problems with these people, and then we, by going to go bother them, we basically validate them for the most part. That goes for women and that women, because at the end of the day, when you talk to somebody or go harass somebody, you're basically, especially if it's a woman, we talk about this all the fucking time in the manosphere. We talk about this shit all the fucking time, and it pisses me off because we know this shit, but we get so stupid and we run into this fucking shit. If you go over to their shit and talk shit on their shit, you're doing nothing more than validating them. It doesn't matter how you want to spin it, cut it, or whatever the fuck this is. Fuck the politics. You're basically validating them when you actually go and do the shit that you do. So when you go over to their channel, acting all stupid on their channel, you're doing nothing more than giving them attention and validating them. We talk about this shit in the Manosphere all the time. It doesn't matter if it's bad or good when it's with a woman. It's the fact that you gave them some attention, bad or good. Even if you're talking shit on them or if you're talking nice about them, you gave them attention. It's just facts. That's all they want is fucking attention. And that shit pisses me off because you know this shit, and I know you know this shit. I don't know if it slipped your mind that day when you made the video, or it slipped your mind when you were making a video. But at the end of the day, by doing this, you're doing nothing more but validating them and giving them the attention that they fucking want. It's facts and it's true because women like attention. It's basically like a politician or a person that's trying to promote themselves. Bad press is good press. Good press is good press. No matter how you spin it, it's good press. It'd be like a rapper. If a rapper does something good, he gets good press. If a rapper does something street, he gets good press and he gets more street credibility. It's basically the same concept. You're doing the same concept with all these trolls. It's just facts. So at the end of the day, you're basically giving them attention and validating their superiority or their complex for the most part, and making it worse than what it needs to be by giving them all this fucking attention. It's kind of like with and I know a lot of people's parents used to say this shit when people used to sing songs, but they were sucking in some of their grades. Their grades were slipping in school. If you knew your schoolwork as much as you knew that fucking song, you'd be a better child. You better be a better child in school for the most part. It's facts. It is. It's just facts. Because by focusing on these motherfuckers over here, you're diverting your attention away from them. Like I said in another video, that's time you could have had coming up with business plans. That's time you could have had starting something, or starting a help group, a support group. That's time you could have had at the fucking gym. That's pretty much mental space that you can't get, mental space and time in your mind that you can't get back for the most part because you've been donated brain cells to stupid people doing stupid shit. You're better off just hitting the blunt like 9 times and just going from there for the most part, or just taking a hit of drugs basically at that point, because that's basically what you're doing with your time and energy. Your base is be no different than you just getting high all the damn time on drugs. Because I've always said, and this has always been my quote, I don't hate anybody. I don't hate anybody because that's too much time and mental space for me to donate for stupidity for the most part. That's not the actual quote that I normally say, but at the end of the day, that's what it is for me. I don't hate anyone because that's just too much time and mental capacity or mental space that I don't feel like donating to anybody. It's just facts. And that's a good thing if you commit to the gym. Hey, you don't even have to commit to the gym because I know it's probably closed right now. Hey, there's always walking. You can always go walking. I did a late night video where I was just walking to the neighborhood the other day. So I'm all about getting in shape and staying in shape for the most part. I know I gained like 10 pounds during this coronavirus, but at the end of the day, those 10 pounds, I actually needed those 10 pounds because I lost too much weight hitting the gym too much. So I needed those 10 pounds back anyway because I'd have probably been unhealthy, which was actually pretty funny. Um, because I tend to drop weight very quickly when I exercise and shit like that, which is really sad. So I needed those 10 pounds back no matter what. Oh, it opened back up. Oh wow, nice, nice, nice. That's good. Definitely check that out, Pence. Definitely check that out. But yeah, it's just stuff like that that just blows my mind. It definitely blows my mind when people dedicate time and space to these people because it'd be like what MGTOW and the Wind said when it comes to you're basically letting somebody live rent free in your mind. It'd be no different if you had a tenant living in your apartments or your house for free. You're basically letting them live rent free in your mind for the most part by thinking about them and doing the shit that you're doing. I actually agree with MGTOW and the Wind on that one. Why are you going to let somebody live rent free in your mind? This is less complicated than mine because mine's is more complex. Mine say basically, I don't hate anybody because that's too much time and mental space that I don't feel like donating to somebody for the most part. Whereas his is, why are you going to let somebody live in your mind rent free? I actually like that. Um, but it's just shit like that that just blows my mind when I watch men get caught in this constant cycle and trapped that I know they shouldn't get caught in, or I know that they're smart enough not to be caught in. Because at the beginning of the year, I've always been against trolling. Like I might fire shots at people subliminally, but I've always been against trolling for the most part. I've always been against trolling. Um, because I just don't feel like paying attention to somebody has to know about it. That'd be like me. Somebody trolling me would be equivalent to somebody telling me a broke person who's ugly who has zero successes in a relationship telling me how to live my life and telling me how to be in a relationship. Why the fuck would I listen to that person when they're broke, down on their luck, and ain't been in a successful relationship ever? Why the fuck would I listen to that person? Why the fuck would I give that person any time of day or any thought for the most part if they suck at what they do? It's basically like women who try to tell their friends, and these bitches are miserable because they've never been in a successful relationship, can't even spell successful relationship, don't even know what a successful relationship look like, and they want to tell your significant other what it is to be in a successful relationship when this heifer's never even seen a successful relationship. Like I said, she can't even spell successful relationship, but she want to dole out advice. It's just shit like that. It's like it'd be no different than like the dating coaches that we got or we see a lot of basically like how to get a girl. Okay, do you have one? No? Then why are you teaching somebody how to get one? You know what I mean? It's just shit like that. Like, do you have one right now? No? Okay, then. Then I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up and go sit down in the back. Quiet down from the peanut. I'm gonna need the quiet peanut ground to be quiet, basically. And then it's just stuff like that that just blows my mind. And another issue that I've seen that I don't know if everybody else really realized or really put thought into was I've seen a lot of videos with people making them is the whole entire Instagram and the Instagram thoughts and stuff like that and other shit like that for the most part. And this is my honest opinion on that. Look, at the end of the day, if you're an Instagram thought, you're nothing more than a thought. You're not even an afterthought. You're not even in the thought process, basically. You're nothing more than somebody who just wants attention and wants short term gains. You don't really want a long term relationship. You don't really believe in a long term relationship because at the end of the day, your relationships never really last. Your relationships are only beneficial to you because at the end of the day, a lot of the Twitch streamers and a lot of these dots basically have somebody supporting them in their dream so they can become big. Let it be some Chinese nerd or Indian guy or some simp ass motherfucker that think it's okay to let their girlfriend do the shit. At the end of the day, like I always say, by letting your significant other do this, your ass is about to be skipped on. You about to be making videos talking about my girl left me. I supported her TikTok career, or I supported her Twitch stock career, or I supported this career, or I supported her IG model career for the most part. The sad part about that is, yeah, you supported her being a thought. You didn't support her being an actual woman or an actual significant other. You supported her thought thought lifestyle for the most part. I'm not shocked when they leave you. If you're a man and you date like a Twitch thought or a TikTok thought or a Instagram thought for the most part, I'm not shocked in the least bit. So, like, I don't feel sympathy for somebody who dates somebody like that at all. I feel very little to zero sympathy for anybody, especially if you know that's what it's basically. It'd be no different than the old saying, "Never turn a hoe into a housewife." It's no different than that. It's no different than that. Never turn a hoe into a housewife. If she does hoe like behavior or has hoe like mannerisms, she's not housewife material. It's that simple. And it's just stuff like that that just blows my mind when I see stupid people do stupid shit like that. Then they want to get on social media and cry that their girlfriend left them. And I'm sitting there like, dumbass. Basically, that's pretty much what it is. That's all it is. I just laugh at people like that because I know when you're trying to turn a hoe into a housewife, it'd be no different than a street nigga trying to wife up a street hoe, basically. It's no different. And people seem to forget this or get lost. Because I always looked at it like this: if you're a man, there are certain things that you don't do for the most part. It's kind of like when you're a man, you have to ask yourself two questions: is this somebody I could take home to my parents or not? Is this somebody I could take home to my parents or not? It's that simple. And if the answer is no, then why the hell are you dating a person? Is it short term or long term? And if it's long term and you can't take that person home to your mom, you shouldn't be dating that person in the first damn place. It's that simple. If you could take them home to mom, then there you go. That's the person that you probably should be dating. Sadly, um, I mean, I'm not saying date anybody, but I'm just saying if you're going to do it right for the most part. I'm not. There's other things that go into the whole entire selection thing, but a lot of men tend to miss that, and that's not my bag. And I'm not trying to teach people how to get women and stuff like that for the most part. But something I always thought of or thought about, no pun intended, um, is the thing that women fail to realize when it comes to men is men want a freak in the sheets and a lady in the streets. It is what it is. Because at the end of the day, if everybody knows what you're doing in the streets, then you belong to the streets. If nobody knows what you're doing in the sheets, I mean, if you're not doing the same thing you're doing in the streets that you're doing in the sheets, then you're pretty much okay or fine in my book. But if you're out there with no carte blanche, basically just putting yourself out there like that, then you pretty much just belong to the streets for the most part. When it comes as far as women are concerned, if you can put yourself out there, you're no longer a viable candidate for your significant other for the most part. And I'm not saying that to be oppressive. I'm just saying that because there's a difference between being oppressive and being respectful. A lot of people in the Western world lost what it is to be respectful and respect their families and respect their significant other for the most part because nobody has respect for their significant others and nobody has respect for their families, which is super sad. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much of an individual you want to be or call yourself, your behavior is a reflection of your family and the person you're dating. It's just facts. So all that other craziness and all that other bullshit where like I'm an individual, I'm independent, I'm this. No, 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 you're really not. You're a reflection of your mom and dad. You're a reflection of your significant other, boyfriend, husband, fiance. You're a direct representation of who you come from or who you're dating. So if you're acting stupid like that, then they're going to view that dumb people and your significant other as that type of people. It's just facts. So all this thoughting it up and hoeing it up is basically nothing more than how they view your family and how they view your significant other. It's true. It's sad, but that's the society we live in because we judge other people based on how other people act that we see first. So if your daughter's out here on the pole, best believe I'm be talking shit on you as a parent because your daughter's on the pole. I don't mean like dick. I mean the actual strip pole, basically. Um, Stuff like that. If your daughter's a hooker, or if your daughter's a escort, if your daughter's a Twitch star, I'm basically judging your family automatically. Like, obviously, that family sucked at what they did. Obviously, that family had no morals or no ethics, or they shouldn't even have children. And that's exactly my thoughts on people when I see people do that shit. Like, they shouldn't have had children. They don't deserve to have children, and they have no ethics and morals. It don't matter if you do have ethics and morals. It's the fact that how the finished product that you just raised has no ethics and morals. It's just facts. So I judge everybody's parents based on how their children act for the most part. Or judge I judge a woman or a man based on how their significant other acts. Because you're a direct representation of them. Your parents, your family, your significant other, you're a direct representation of them. It may hurt, it may suck, but it is what it is. It'd be no different if my one friend who's dating a married man, I judge her family. Despite the fact that her family is very rich, I judge her family because obviously she had a poor upbringing and she has some poor teachings to actually get her to where she is today. She's dating a married man, and matter of fact, she's engaged to a married man right now, and he has yet to get a divorce from his actual wife. But he's engaged to this woman. So I judge her and her family's morals on how they raised her, basically, because obviously there was none there, and there was no teaching, no great teaching there for her to come out and act stupid like this. It's the finished product. Just like I judge women because I judge women and their parents if they're in abusive relationships. Obviously, probably her mother or her father was in an abusive relationship. This is why she chose this life. It's just facts. So any woman that's in an abusive relationship that'll sit up here and tell me that their parents were great and this, that, and the other, and all this other bullshit, I tend to not believe them. Like, oh, your parents were a great couple, then why the fuck are you a bad? Why are you suck at the couple part? Where the fuck is your couple morals? Where the fuck did you learn this shit from? And if your parents are such great people and they were together this long, obviously somebody was getting their ass whooped in that relationship. It's just facts. But yeah, I digress. And this podcast is over. Y'all have a blessed night. I'm trying to keep my podcasts under 50 minutes. So y'all have a blessed night and be good. Then I'll pick this up another day. Good night.